Anybody else, or can I get to the main event?
Main event. Let's go.
Right, your screen is up there where you looking at?
Yes, up.
Oh, all right. I'm like, yo,
Down.
I'm like
Yeah.
either Bravado cross-eyed or a motherfucker or his screen.
So it's like up, and then the
Like
camera.
that,
It's
like
just,
that,
yeah.
like that, shit like that.
All right, so I appreciate both of y'all for sure. We've been having a little smoky smoke and all that, but I feel like now y'all can go whatever which way you want. But I feel like this right here, I got this from some of y'all sentiments. But I don't want to steer y'all. I just feel like this was like something that was really like a heartburn pain point right here. But go ahead.
Just answer the question.
Well, not talk about what the fuck y'all want to talk about. I got this question right here from both of you guys' commentary from the show and then his recap.
Which
Okay,
which
so
question?
I'm
I'm sorry. Oh,
Well, my bad. It's scrolling. My fault. Can a biological father be replaced by other father figures or Q?
Just to answer that straight out.
yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
Whatever you want to do.
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah. There ain't nothing to argue over that because I agree with it. Now,
Okay.
it's actually this one's a loaded question because my thoughts about the whole father figure situation was about the willingness to make the actual father replaceable, as if that any man can just come in and do the job, and it doesn't matter if it's the biological father or not. And that's just that piece of it is just not true. Now, can a man who come into a situation with a woman with a young boy and provide love, direction, give him the guidance, the tenets that he needs? He absolutely can do that. But there's still going to be something missing in that boy because it's not his actual father. So I believe a man who cares enough can actually, help with the manhood development, but there will always still be something deficient because it's not his father. And a lot of us would have that thought that thought because a lot of us, too many of us are in homes without the father, and there was usually some other man or series of men that came along to try to fill in the gaps, but the father not being there is still something that haunts you. I thought I was going to see my father when he was in his casket. I never had a thought that I would actually meet him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so there were multiple men along. When I actually when I actually give the credit to a lot of my settling, I actually started the journey of settling right around the age of 30, but that credit went to two separate men that were not related to me, and they were actual supervisors, because they actually kept me on when they should have fired me. And these are two black men, because of my behavior, because I was confrontational, because I would pop off, but they saw something. God bless them. I give them a lot of credit, for having the patience to understand what big ball of mess I was, when they were interacting with me on a professional level, and it only takes another black man to kind of understand that when they see somebody with all this talent, all these gifts, but his perception is all over the world because he didn't have that rooted force in his life developing it.
Yeah, I have to say that what it sounds like you're speaking to with that biological parent is that identity piece. And
Yes.
I think that there's something important in that. So when you took my clip and we're talking about fuck a father figure, fuck a this and that, I'm like, if it ain't the father, then if the mother, let's say, has made a poor decision in her picking, then who? If it's fuck the father figure and fuck the stepfather and fuck everybody else, right? So to your point of, is that male figure going to be able to supplement that identity? Absolutely not, because he's not the biological parent.
Right.
I don't think there's women out there also champion this idea that I want to have a baby, then I want to eliminate the father altogether and then bring a new nigga in. I don't think people are doing that either. And that was kind of the tone that you came at that with, like, these women are just out here acting out and trying to replace the father with another man.
I did understand that sentiment was out of the notion that that too many of our women have probably made the wrong decision. But and what I probably could have done a little bit better in, to your point, what I could have done a little bit better in is addressing that specifically. Because let's just keep it a buck. We have too many kids out here with not fathers because the mothers have not made appropriate decisions, and the community is left to pick up the pieces with that. So, I mean, I appreciate your whole sentiment about it, because that's just your sentiment around this topic proves how big of a problem we have. The fact that there's, because of the kids that are out here, how many of them are going to be deficient because of that lack of responsible father is not in the home. So I understand why you would think that, especially now. See, I keep hearing the word raising. A woman with love can raise. That can happen. But what we're up here talking about, when a lot of men hear this, we're thinking about development. We're necessarily, raising and development for us are two different things. You can get us to adulthood. There's nothing wrong. That can happen. You can instill some character. You can instill some values, like has been said before. But this development piece, that's something you don't have. And to Mr. White's point is, it takes experience going through that. I thought I was doing a pretty good job up until I ran into a buzzsaw called my father and grandfather. I thought nothing I was doing was wrong. I thought everything and every obstacle, every, pitfall that I've ran into, I thought it was the other person's fault. I never once thought that it was how I was responding to them and responding to the situations and getting them into it. And that's another piece, especially because, from a cultural standpoint, this is across all cultures. And I said this at the beginning, the expectation for men is to make a sacrifice that you women are not responsible for making. And so men have to be a certain way because of the level of sacrifice. It's, like I said, the resources, the time, and the life. You are not responsible for, on a cultural and a macro way, you're not responsible for all of those sacrifices. You're not responsible for the success of your family. You're not responsible for that. Now, if you're thrust into the role because of the decisions and the choices, that's one thing. But culturally speaking, you're not responsible for that. But men are. And we have a couple generations of Black men who don't understand the gravity of what that means and how to move because of that. That's just kind of where it is. So I don't think there's a whole lot of, on this end, a whole lot of smoke about it. I think the topic points out the bigger problem was the fact that we got, as a Black culture, we got a whole fucking problem.
Well, I think when you took my clip and used it for your podcasting to make your points, there was a lot of stuff that was missing. So in my situation, I was in a same-sex marriage. And in that marriage, we decided to go through a cryobank to have a child, kind of similar to what the brat did. So in thinking of raising this well-rounded individual for society, that's where that concept of us knowing we were two women, this child is also going to need that male energy, those things that you guys were speaking about that a woman would not be able to provide, that y'all did not want to list. It was understood that, hey, I'm going to be able to do this stuff really, really well. I'm sure of that. But every child needs this. And I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. That was my sentiment. So it wasn't to replace the father, because even in that, it was hard to find the donor, because the donor had to be an open donor so that in years that child could also get tapped in with that identity piece. So all of that was thought about.
Yeah, and you made a point to the fact that the guy that you tapped to try to fill that role, that he lacked a lot of things. And
well, I didn't choose him.
Okay, well, that was chosen. I was just going with the guy that was chosen. And that goes back to the point of, to a degree, a lot of our ladies don't even know how to assess an appropriate level of man to even provide. And they're out because you don't know how to assess the quality of a man appropriately, or put what you need to assess the man appropriately, make that number one. Our women are having children with unqualified men, and our culture's littered with children with unqualified men. So even being in a same-sex marriage, which my sister's in, and she's talking about this whole having a kid thing, and we're having this conversation. We're having this very conversation, and it's a difficult one because this. Well, we're not gonna get there, but it's a difficult conversation because I want her to have the family that she wants, you know, and I want her if they end up having a boy, I want to give my sister as many tools as I can to help her with that. But but you bringing up the father figure, in general, our women out here, especially talking about on the dating market, a lot of our women are out here dating with the idea that it doesn't matter what kind of man comes in. It doesn't matter that the father's not there. They often openly say it doesn't matter because, you know, if I just get a better man to come in and he'll take care of all of us. And that's a reckless way of looking at it. And it devalues the father in itself, in the father position. And you know being a mother and being a father, those are the highest honors we can do for one another.
I agree, and I say fuck them bitches. Like that's a weird way to live, and that's weird code to go by. But I would say if I was able to vet that individual, I look at people. I have a cousin that I'm very, very close with. Big alpha male energy. Somebody like that I would have chosen for a godfather. Somebody like him I would have chosen for a godfather. But
shit like that.
The nigga that got chosen, I didn't choose that. That was like, oh, the person I was with was friends with this couple. And that's how, oh, my friends, and I think, and then, because he had a husband, she had a husband, whatever, right? Kind of to that point of, oh, I'm observing this guy who's raised in a 2-parent household. He'd be a better person for me to have a child with. The whole time you don't know that. That's also going to be a dead end deal. So I think her intentions were probably good with choosing that couple, but I personally wouldn't have chosen it.
Kevin 3905 with the $5 super chat. There's a lot of effeminate men that don't even know it is because they were raised by women. Some in 2-parent households.